All right. Well, let me go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. This is Mike Francis. Today is October 24th. We are meeting tonight for our last training session of correctable errors is what we're talking about today. We will be doing some situational stuff on our water polo app, which will make it a lot easier for everyone to follow along. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So let's start again. Correctable errors. What is it? How to identify correctable errors, how to apply them to the correct rule situation, and a kind of a summary of correctable errors. So what is it? It's Rule 3, Section 11. It's errors including desk errors, technical errors by the desk. It could be equipment malfunction, timing errors, different hand signals of the referees or pointing the opposite way, these misapplication of the rules. So this should not affect the outcome of the game. So this is why we have correctable errors. When we do a correctable error, no team shall gain an advantage over an opponent because of this type of error. Several errors are made at once. The referees must determine the best of their ability how to correct it so it's in the interest of fairness for everybody. Poor referee mechanics are not considered a misapplication of the rules and therefore not subject to protest. But in some situations, poor mechanics may be a correctable error, and we'll get into that in 3-4. All right. So we have one of the situations we have here is a desk error. So the desk error where the clock error results in the referee taking the ball out, going and fixing the situation, and then put the ball back into play to, if in this case, if it was a foul, and get back to the offense. And then if it's returned to the closest player of the spot of the foul. So you just got to remember that wherever you take it out, that should be the same place you put the ball in. And it could result in a direct shot or putting the ball in play. If it's outside 6 meters or a corner throw, they can either do a direct shot or put the ball in play and shoot it. So let's go over some examples. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And then let me share my screen with that. And we'll go over the app and go over some examples. All right. So in this situation, let's talk about advantage of time. Most of the time we have situations, let's say a 6-on-5. So a man-up situation. Well, I don't want to do that one. Let me do this one. All right. We've done some work on this thing, so it has helped a lot. So let me just move it around a little bit. So in this situation, we've got a man-up situation. Put this guy over here and over here. I didn't set this up right, but that's okay. And what happens is, let's say the shot clock doesn't get reset, or let's say they reset the shot clock, but they don't run the shot clock. So what you want to do is allow maybe a couple seconds to see if they can get a quick goal. You don't want to take advantage away from the offense in this situation. If it's been a couple seconds and the shot clock is not running, and then it starts to run, but it's already been a couple seconds, you really want to stop. You want to pull the ball out. And then, the referee over here is going to go talk to the desk and say, okay, we need to reset the clock. We need to reset it to the time of the exclusion and the game time of the time of the exclusion as well. So the advantage of the offense is not hindered, so they get a full 20 seconds. In the meantime, the referee on the side of the coaches is going to go over to talk to both coaches and explain why and what we're doing so they understand before we start play, so there's no confusion. And I think it's this R reset time. There it is. So then once we then put the ball in play, now wherever we pull the ball out, it goes back in the same spot. Okay. And because it is not it's inside the 6 meters, they can't do a direct shot and they can't put it in play and shoot it. They must pass it to someone else. So that's kind of like one scenario. There's another scenario that we'll talk about in a minute, but also besides that is regular situations. We have a standard situation here. And what happens is the referee on this side calls an offensive foul, calls an exclusion, but realizes it's not an exclusion, it's an offensive foul because it was against the white team, or in this case, the gray team. Well, when that happens, you take the ball out, you point the right direction, you go make sure the desk knows it's a new reset, and you allow the players to go set up their offense. So everybody gets to move down. I haven't done all this stuff yet. So they can all move down. We have to make sure that we're not supposed to have an advantage for one team or the other. So before you give it to blue, you've really got to make sure that everybody's pretty much covered. And so you're not going to start play with they're in transition. So don't start play until transition. Start the ball. Now, wherever you pull the ball out, if the offensive foul occurred here, that's where it goes. What will happen is sometimes the goalie will try to go all the way to half pull, thinking he's going to get an advantage here. And you don't want to do that. If the goalie doesn't stay where he's supposed to go through, I just throw the ball where the offensive foul occurred. So that way the goalie will have to go back and go get it and then put it in play. But we want to be careful not to give advantage. In this case, this is a situation where wherever you pull the ball out, that's always where you put it back in. And you also communicate both coaches. We had an offensive foul. They're usually pretty good. College coaches are pretty good about figuring it out. But not everybody's perfect. So you might have to explain it to them. So that's another scenario for correctable errors. Pointing in the wrong direction, the referee blowing the whistle for the wrong team because they think it's an exclusion, but it's really an offensive foul. Those are all correctable errors. Okay. Now, one issue that is not a kind of a correctable error is, let's say the shot clock is winding down and Darks has the ball. And just before the clock hits 0, there's a steal. And I won't do it yet. I'll do it when it gets closer in time. So what happens is they have a steal and they're taking off and they pass it to this guy as the shot clock expires. Okay. And when the shot clock expires, because there's an offensive advantage here, we do not want to blow the whistle to pull the ball out and fix it. This is because it's the advantage to the offense. If the shot clock, so that's another scenario. So when it's an advantage to the offense, in that case, you don't want to, that's more or less, you don't want to correct that right away. If they already gone down and set up, let's say blue has already gone down and set up, and all of a sudden now they have the ball in the front court, and all of a sudden the clock expires, you have to fix that. Okay. The hardest thing is, how much time do you put back on the shot clock? How much time? Where was the ball when they had a transition? Was it here? Was it here? You're going to have to do your best judgment. Usually on average, what I would say, if they've got the ball and they've taken it down to the front court and they've got it to set center forward position the first time, they've gone down here and then they pass it to the wing and the wing passes it to center forward. I'm usually given about 13 seconds left in the shot clock, but that's up to you and your partner, and you try to do the right thing. If they steal the ball at half pull on the transition, then might have to put more time on the clock. The key is you're going to have to use your best judgment. A lot of times you just don't know, so you try to work it with your partner. When you do that, pull the ball out again. You got to pull the ball out. Tell the shot clock person how much time, and this person tells both coaches, hey, we're going to set the shot clock at 13 seconds. And then you go over here, tell the same thing. You want to do more proactive communication to coaches at all times when you're doing correctable errors, because you don't want to start play and you have one coach go, hey, why was the clock? What happened to the shot clock? Why is it this? And you need to explain it to the coach. Okay. So those are some examples that we can correct on. And there's also an example of when we don't want to call it. We also have a situation on let's say a 6-on-5, same thing. So we talked about man up situation. So we already kind of covered that already, where anytime that there's a clock error, when it's in favor of the offense, you want to make sure that there's no advantage. Either they don't, so you got to keep an eye on it. If they shoot the ball quickly enough, then don't correct the error. If they shoot and score within a couple seconds, don't do it. After that, you're gonna have to stop the clock, because everything's gonna be off. The exclusion time is not gonna match, so it's gonna cause other problems. So, any questions on this so far? No? Okay. All right. Well, then let me stop sharing, and we'll have Kellyanne work on the other ones. Let me stop sharing. All right. So other situations that happen, an excluded player reentry situation. So what happens when a warm-up ball comes in? It's the same situation. When it comes in during the exclusion time, we've got to fix that. If the goal comes loose or moves or blows over in the wind, we got to fix that as well. A game is stopped for lightning, malfunction, clock. We're always going to restart from the very beginning of the time of the exclusion, and we're going to reset the exclusion time and the shot clock back to 30 seconds. And those are all correctable errors, and we have to do that for every time in that situation. We also have another situation where the same thing, let's say they've called a timeout, and we'll go over that in a minute, but that's the same situation. They call the timeout, they set their play up, and the clock has an error. We have to go back and fix that too. We take the ball out and we allow them another timeout. We're not charging them for it, but they had set up a design play, and now they may need to change that play. But in this case, it's just an excluded player. Anytime we have an excluded player and there's, for whatever reason, the clock messes up, or the cage moves or blows over, lightning, all this normal malfunctions, we're going to stop play, pull the ball out, and reset everything back to time. All right.
Hey,
This one is alternate.
Mike,
Yeah.
on that one that you just had there, where it says like, okay, there's a the clock ticks down and there's a foul, immediately we hear the shot clock. If the player also then immediately shoots post shot clock, but all like say each event is within like they're clearly should have been eligible, but the buzzer went with the normal human reaction time. Do we should we just say, oops, sorry, clock ran on, or allow the shot, or just reset back up because they went with kind of what actually should have been? How would you want that to be handled? Because I've seen that in a couple of games.
So reset the situation for me again.
So as it says like here on the interpretation, it says, I mean, it's right there. It says whistle stops play, buzzer signifying end of the shot clock sounds immediately after we
Oh, okay,
whistle. Okay, but it
right,
was whistle first, then buzzer. If a player shoots with their like immediate shot,
right,
yeah, let's say they're outside 6 meters for it.
okay.
Should we allow the goal, turn over, or reset, even if it was kind of in that normal human reaction time
Well,
frame that the rules
the
are?
one they're talking about there is the normal reaction time where if you felt that it left their hand and the buzzer went off, then it's going to be a goal, right? You're always going to allow that.
Okay.
If you determine that let's say here, let me go ahead and show an example. I'll show you an example. And let me get to that one, number 3. So the same as the normal setup. So we're just going to go standard situation. So we're talking about a shot clock. Um, let's say there's a foul. Okay, so we're talking about this scenario right here. So if there's a if there was a you said there's a foul and then the shot clock expires. The
Yeah.
question
So
is it left his hand or not? Is that what you're talking about?
like
Scenario?
I'm thinking it's just like
Or you're
in
talking
like
about, let's
very
say,
rapid sequence, it's
foul
like,
outside.
yeah, like foul, shot clock, shot, all within say 1 second of each other, but clearly like in order.
Yeah, the question is if it's clearly simultaneously, you can probably get away with that. If it's longer, if the shot clock expires first, let's say there's a foul and they go pick up the ball, and as he's picking up the ball, the shot clock expires, right? And then there's a hesitation about the shot, right? So we know that that's a correctable error. We have to fix that. That's the one we have to fix. Um, if as he's releasing the ball, the clock expires. I think we're going to be okay with that. The question is, that's if it's too early, then you have to stop it, fix it, and then allow him. If there was a foul here, then we can allow them to do a direct shot. So we have to pull the ball out, put the clock, whatever clock time you thought was on there, because maybe he was swimming to the ball and you saw the clock running. If the clock runs, then you know it's going to be a correctable error depending on the situation. If it's at 5 seconds and now you're down to 1 second, you just want to see if it's going to fix the if it's already a couple seconds, you need to stop it and fix it, because it could be a timing thing where the horn will go off as he's about to shoot, and of course the coach on this side thinks it's an illegal shot, so you have to fix it. So it's all your judgment on that timing that you're talking about. And sometimes you're going to go, well, that shot, it was simultaneous as the horn was going off. You might have to do some explaining to the coach, and then you have to all explain it to the desk to make sure they stop the clock at the appropriate time and start it again. I mean, does that answer your question? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
is that
I would generally favor making it correctable. I guess it leaves that unfortunate little bit of interpretation for the defending coach to say, well, no, but I thought that was, I felt like it wasn't, and obviously it's our judgment call on it.
correct?
I just came off of a tournament where I had to pull the ball out more times because of tables. So it's all this stuff is very fresh on my mind.
Well, that's good, because this is what usually happens, because you have to weigh it all out, and the question is, are you going to take the advantage away from the offense? In that case, is it taking away the advantage? But the question is, if the buzzer is clearly, obviously, before the guy gets to the ball, or the gal gets to the ball, clearly gets, and you're not gonna, I wouldn't allow the shot. I would have to fix it right then and there. So if the buzzer went off at this juncture where they're not even at the ball, or as they're picking up the ball, the shot clock expires, that's been a couple seconds. It wasn't a human error. It wasn't like as simultaneous as you called a foul, the shot clock expired, then of course you're going to turn over the ball. So you're just going to have to weigh out the time in your head and go, that usually you'll know. When you start seeing it a lot, the key is just don't take the advantage away from the offense. If they pick up the ball and as they're shooting it, the buzzer goes off, but it looks like it's in the hand, because the coach is going to say that, and you say, I didn't want to take advantage away from the offense, and it's a clock error, but it's not. I'm not going to correct that, because it wasn't clearly way ahead of its time. I have to give the advantage to the offense. But that doesn't happen too much. But when it does happen, it creates all kinds of problems. And one of the things you just talk to is your partner, especially if you have radio. Please use radios. You guys can weigh it out to the best of you can do it the best of your judgment. Okay.
Hey, Mike, quick question. Well, hopefully it's a quick question.
Sure,
Shot clock's at 10. There's a scramble for the ball, maybe an overpass or something. Two players go for the ball. Offense retains possession, so no clear change of possession. However, in the scramble, our clock operator resets, pass, and shot.
Very good question.
Definitely under 10 seconds.
Very good question.
But the shot clock is now at 29, 28, 27. So visibly an error,
Right.
but yet definitely under the time because we're counting down. I think that happens quite a bit, especially in age group or club and whatever. Just so that we're all on the same page. What's the correct answer?
The correct answer in that is, when you notice it being reset and there's not a quick shot happening, you got to stop and fix the time. That's the best way to deal with it. You don't want to take advantage of it's like the same similar situation with the wrong player excluded, right? And as they're swimming out, there's a quick shot and there's a goal. Okay, we'll allow that. That's not taking away advantage from the offense. If they don't shoot it right away, then we have to stop and fix the time on the clock, and to fix because the situation you've got, that's also a correctable error that we have to fix. So for your scenario, and I agree with you, is the shot clock is reset right in the middle of the offense, and that's the hardest thing to do as a referee, is to keep an eye on that clock, and you can feel when that clock should have not been reset or not. And this is where you have to go back in time to pull out the ball. You're not going to let play continue. You can't do that. Once you recognize it, you got to fix it. Okay. Because when there's about 10 seconds left. That just takes experience and time to figure that out. But you look up the clock and it says 25. That's wrong. You just got to wait up before you make that decision. See if there's a quick shot and verify. Just check with your partner to see, because you can still correct it even if they shoot and score, and you guys agree that no, that should have not been reset because that was a scramble for the ball. There was no clear possession change. That's where you have to kind of go back. Now, it's easy when it's after a timeout, after a goal. That's easy, right? It's hard when there's 2 minutes of play, but there's no goal. So that's why you have to remember, where was the ball when the transition happened? Was it here or was the ball here? And that's going to help you gauge how much time should be on the shot clock. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thanks.
Okay, but that's a great question, and it will happen in any age group, any situation. It will happen all the time, and that's what you have to do. You have to figure it out and then fix it. But you don't, the worst thing you can do is let it continue, and then they score a goal with 2 seconds left on the shot clock when it should have never been reset the second time. It was reset on the change of possession, but should have never been reset after that. And it's your judgment. If it should have been reset, and you can kind of give them an indicator to, hey, go ahead and reset shot clock. But we still might have a correctable error too, because if they don't reset it, we can wait for a quick shot, but if not, we still have to fix that too. We don't want the shot clock going off in error and then the other team swimming down the other side of the pool when it was clearly a shot was reset and they didn't reset the shot clock. So that same scenario happens as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop. And we'll go to the next one. That's good. That's good feedback, guys. All right, I stopped sharing. We talked about all the scenarios here. We talked about referees pointing the wrong direction. Usually referees, this is where we make mistakes all the time. We blow the whistle, we point the wrong way. We blow the whistle, we call an exclusion. It should have been an offensive foul. All those scenarios are error. We start play with too many players in the water on the sprint or on a 6-on-5, or maybe on the sprint when there should be a person in the exclusion area. Those are all things that we can't just keep playing the game. We have to fix it. And then this is why you proactively communicate with your partner, especially at the end of the period. It's not the time to relax. It's the time to look at, okay, do we have a man up situation? Are we even up? Are we down? How much time is on the clock? Are we telling the coach? Are we telling our partner, okay, number 5, White's he's got an exclusion. He has to sit out, or a sub has to sit out. You have 17 seconds left in the exclusion time. So all that stuff has to be done. But if we make a mistake, we have to go back and fix it. We can't let them play even up when it should have been a 6-on-5. We're not going to punish the team. That's a referee error. So we just have to go back and fix it. Sure, they're going to have to sprint again, but that's the rule. The rule is that we fix it. If we make an error and pointing in the wrong direction, make sure that it says no one has an advantage. So just because you pull out and they're guarding somebody, I just go tell them to go set up. Go set up. Make sure that everybody's on their half of the pool, unless it's like the last possession of the game where everybody wants to press and the team that's in front wants everything spread out. Once they get all that figured out, then I put the ball back in exactly pretty much where I put it back into play, where I took it out. And it's easy to forget that scenario. And I've seen referees by mistake pull it out, and the goalie goes to half pull, and then we're giving one team an advantage by starting to play at half pull instead of 2 meters when we call the contra foul. All right, so in summary, it's basically, let's go to the summary page. So in summary, we really have the last page, sorry. So in summary, we have all types of different correctable errors: game clock, shot clock errors during play, during exclusion time. We have referee errors during play, after the goal, timeout, in between periods, and all the time. Desk errors. Okay, so Article 4, if the signal is not given at the appropriate time by the exclusion secretary of the reentry of the player, then the goal cannot be counted. They score the goal, but then we find out that we check with the desk and the game clock is greater than 20 seconds. And if it's greater than 20 seconds, that goal should have never counted. And what we do is we have to pull out the ball, tell the team that we're not giving them a goal, and explain why. Because it's greater than 20 seconds. There was no flag. The other thing is, hopefully your partner who's on the opposite side of the desk can see the flag and verify that they didn't wave the flag. That is a big issue. And that's the only way we can correct it is we set the clock back to the time of 10 seconds left on the shot, on the 20 seconds off the game clock from the time of the exclusion. We put the shot clock at 10 seconds. And then, you know, if they scored a goal, I'm just going to give them the ball somewhere inside 6 meters so they don't think they can put a direct shot or put the ball in play and shoot it because they scored a goal. So I'm not going to allow them to do a quick put the ball in play and shoot it. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to put the ball inside 6 meters. Now, as soon as you start play, the excluded player has to go out, start out again. But as soon as we put the ball in play, they can immediately return. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that scenario. Just shared my screen. We'll explain that one on the app. That will be a lot easier to see. All right, so it's not set up right, but that's okay. So you have a man-up situation. And as the clock is winding down, the ball is being passed here, it's being passed all over the place. And sometimes you don't know that because they've reset the clock and got the ball back. So you can tell when it's like right up, right here, they shoot the ball, it goes in the cage, but they didn't put the flag up. So if the flag's not up, was not up at the time, let me get the ball out of here. And we can't allow the goal. And that's when we have to fix. Oh, the ball doesn't like to move there. So if we don't raise the flag, obviously the flag corresponding to the hat is what we want. I don't know why it wants to do that. So if we didn't raise a flag, then we have to go back, take the ball out. We don't allow the goal. We tell the desk, we tell the referee on the other side, tells both coaches, hey, they didn't wave the flag and it was greater than 20 seconds. So we're not going to allow the goal. So the player that actually came in after the goal, but now has to go back out since now you're in interval time. There's no penalty against the player because they didn't do anything wrong. So they're going to be here. And then you're going to put the ball here. You're going to put 10 seconds on the clock. And as soon as you start play, then you're going to wave this player in. And then now we're even up. Obviously, since it's a clock error, not a foul, because they had scored a goal, we're not going to allow them to put the ball in play and shoot it. So I would not give them the ball outside 6 meters. If they had scored a goal, I'm not going to start with the ball here. I'm going to start inside 6. And that's a good rule of thumb if you take the ball out in other situations. So let's say you're taking the ball out to fix wrong direction, okay? Or let's say you had called an offensive foul and it really is an exclusion, okay? I'm sorry, ordinary foul here, excuse me, ordinary foul here, and you take the ball out, you know, don't let them go over here to set up in center of the court again to try to take a better shot. Put the ball, if they don't go if they leave that area, I just throw the ball back to the area where I took the ball out. It makes them go get the ball. I don't want to throw the ball to them and then make them swim over to go get the ball, swim over, because, you know, they're going to try to put the ball in play here. So I just throw the ball back to where it belongs. and then make them go get the ball. So that's section 3. It's rule 3, section 11, article 4. That's how you take care of issues when the desk person does not raise the flag at the appropriate time. And that's the only way to do it. If for whatever reason the clock got reset, and then you got the coach over here complaining that, and you don't know when they scored it, right? And the coach is complaining about it. Take the ball out before you start play, walk over to the desk, find out what time was the exclusion. If it's greater than 20 seconds, then you know that they didn't raise the flag in time because they're not paying attention, and that happens. But you have to check the book. You can't assume, oh yeah, that was enough time. Well, the book will tell you, and hopefully this is why it's important for them to put the information down in the book about what time the exclusion happened. All right, any questions on that? Thank you, Steve. All right, we're down to our last page now. So we're just summarizing correctable errors. We know that there's game clock, shot clock errors during the game, during exclusion time. There are referees errors, either during play, after the goal timeout, in between periods. Don't continue to play, fix those. I'm pointing the wrong direction. Desk errors where the flag's not raised up in time. Always notify both coaches and the desk when correcting an error. So we have to make sure that they don't count the goal when we have to reverse it. Before you always do this before you put the ball in play. Proactive communication is your best friend. If you don't, sometimes you're going to hear coaches complain about it, but you didn't explain it to them. And it's already too late then because they're already upset. So the more you be proactive, the better off you're going to be. And then some shot clock errors don't have to be corrected if it's in favor of the offense, depending on the situation. You have to look at the situation. If the shot clock is not a timing thing by human error, or it gets reset, let's say it gets reset and they're going to get the ball to shoot it, don't stop play if it's still in favor of the offense. If they can get a shot off, just let it go, but explain it to the desk what they did wrong, because they need to know when they make mistakes. And let's be nice to them, because they're our only friends besides each other as we're roughing this game. And if we have a great desk, I can guarantee you'll have a better game. If you make the desk upset, they will not do a good job, and it's going to make it hard for you. So let's give them the credit due, and we'll go from there. All right, that's my summary. Anybody else have any questions, concerns, any other situations you want to go over for correctable errors?
Mike, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Let's just say south side, north side of the pool. There's a man up on the north side of the pool, 10 seconds left, and a ball bounces in on the south side of the pool. Do you use your discretion? Like, it doesn't affect anything, so I don't need to give the offense a new shot clock. How do you feel about that? The ball's not interfering with anybody in the pool at that time. How do you feel?
Shot clock or a game clock situation? I mean, a shot clock, or it's probably a shot clock issue, not a game
Yes,
clock.
sir.
Okay.
Shot clock, because a ball came in from a practice pool on the south side of the pool where nobody really is.
Well, it depends if it affects play. It all depends. Technically, by rule, we're supposed to fix that. But, if I would say in club, you can probably get away with it in some situations but then if the goalie has to swim a long way to go get it, if they're the ones getting it, it might be a problem. You might have to stop that and fix that. Sometimes they jump in and go get the ball right away. I think you have to use your discretion on that. There's
Okay.
no hard and fast rule. I would be tendency to be more conservative when it comes to varsity games. But you have to weigh each situation out. It's just like when they throw in two balls and one ball bounces off the wall, comes back in. That I'm going to pretty much stop right away, because that's confusing. That's very much confusing. But in their situation, it probably all depends. Just do the best you can. If they're taking a shot as the thing's happening, I'm probably not going to call that. But at some point, I do have to step in, because maybe there's a counter the other way, but nobody's swimming to that ball. But on a 6-on-5, if the ball comes in the warm-up area, yes, we have to stop every single time. So because we have to start the exclusion time, we have to give the offense that situation so they get an advantage. They've earned 20 seconds. We're always going to give them the 20 seconds again. Does that help?
Yeah, I got you.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else?